Hey everyone, and welcome to the Clashing of Steel. So today I have a well-balanced match. Perhaps not with tier balance, because there are tier 3s, 4s and 5s. But as you see, the team composition is pretty much similar. Equal number of melee infantries, archers, catapults, cavalry. Okay, well there is one small difference. Opponents have one more archer unit, but that is just a slight difference comparing that most everything else is well balanced. There aren't many of these matches where we can really enjoy the team balance, or perhaps even tier balance. These matches that are well balanced in general have a lot more interesting outcomes. One team just won't dominate the other. In well-balanced matches there can be other issues like unit tier balance. But, well, in this match it doesn't seem to be that huge. We have tier 5 archers and tier 3 archers, and so do the opponents. Don't get me wrong, it is still heavily unbalanced if you put tier 3 against tier 5 or tier 5 against tier 7. But at least here we had reasonable composition and pretty much equal tiers. To be honest, I never expected to get this type of match where everything would be pretty much equal. Well, because matchmaking can be rather brutal in many matchups. Okay, anyways, I'll get to the battle. So, as I'm playing light cavalry with the Hashdrupal, I can either be on the supporting side, or I can be on the flanking or harassing side. Although Carthage cavalry is light, it isn't comparable to the barbarians. For example, barbarians are more effective to take on infantries or just to kill archers a bit faster. It may also depend on the commander. But because the Carthage cavalry is light, they have got one thing that is working for them, the Numidian Throw, which also got its cooldown cut in half a week ago or so. Although on the death tree there are moments when Carthage cavalry doesn't have the Numidian Throw and is instead given some form of mount kick, which makes them a bit more viable in destroying either the archers or charging or flanking infantries. Personally, I have to say I love the Carthage cavalry. Probably the Carthage and the barbarian cavalry are one of the more interesting for me. Barbarians with Arminius and the mobility, and the Carthage especially for the Numidian Throw. Well, the Numidian Throw seems to be something hot and interesting lately. Personally, I thought it was reasonably strong already before the reduced cooldown. Or at least if you were playing the cavalry smart and tactical like. But no worries, I will still enjoy it. So, as usual for the light cavalry, I try to sneak through and take on the ranged units. I do mess up here trying to task my different units to attack different targets, but in the end I'm doing rather great. But the biggest problem is that even one of my cavalry units takes a while to manage one single unit of archers. I will be killing these archers for a while. Even my charges into them aren't as brutal as with some other commanders, or some other cavalries. Even the battle keeps shifting for our favor and against us. And these archers here, they're just cursed for me. It takes me a long while to manage them, and even if I do, it is hard. Perhaps that is what I actually liked about the Carthage cavalry. You are the weakest, yet you have so many ways to be so strong. Not just with the Numidian Throw, which can be actually rather devastating, but also with the right use of Hashdrupal's first commander skill, the Flying Columns, which is a short cooldown charge that has a lot of potential. Either just for mobility or charging in and charging back out. Sad to say, for this moment I had forgotten about the catapult. I was just thinking about harassing the pikes a bit more, just to keep them busy, just to mess with them, as usual. But it also reminds me to avoid the catapult fire. And what I actually mostly hate about these small bushes down there, those are the stakes. That somebody has set them up that I won't pass through them and so. But that is also why I move rather carefully. I see that he has spread his units out, so I won't go in from straight ahead. I will try and charge in from the side. This is the lost potential, so to say. If I just would have known that they were defenseless here in the grass area, in the high grass, I could have come here sooner and made short work of them. But still, I am slightly afraid, because even ranged units like archers, slingers, light artilleries, all of those soldiers are rather deadly against me. And the only proper thing I have against them is the charge. With these catapults here, I can mess with them, I can play with them, I can charge in and pull back out. But if I would do the same thing with the archers, it might be a bit more painful. Seeing as the catapults won't fire on me if I'm slightly moving out, while the archers, javelins, slingers, anything ranged practically will. The match has actually been rather heavy on me. Even if I did manage to pass through, I had to fight archers, and well, they do lots of damage when you're playing Carthage. There's one other small thing that often works against engaged ranged units. If you can, you must use the flying columns while you're fighting them. It can sometimes be used when your units are engaged, but it can also be used when you press behind the engaged enemy, trying to make a forceful charge, so to say. So there aren't many matches like this, where teams are, well balanced, so to say. What is probably the worst part about this matchmaking is that I am tier 5 and I'm fighting against tier 3s who have just unlocked their second commander skill. And seeing as I have the third one, I should obviously have the advantage. And of course the tier 5 units have obviously bigger stats than tier 3 units. I'm not saying that this match was fair towards everybody, but the team composition and everything seemed to be better than in most matches that we play right now. Probably the worst tiers right now are the 4 and 5. Those are the tiers that seem to have the most ridiculous unbalance against higher or lower tier opponents. I'm not saying that for the tier 7 everything is a-okay, but compared to tier 5, tier 7 is actually more viable against high tiers. Well, since the game is in beta, we can only hope for the matchmaking to get better and wait and see what happens. Anyways, this was a well-balanced match. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.